let's talk about personal safety. We all think we have a pretty good sense of what's dangerous and what's not, right? But what if I told you that our internal riskometer is, well, kind of broken? What if the things we really worry about are statistical long shots, while the actual everyday threats are just hiding in plain sight? In this explainer, we're going to dig into the real numbers and figure out where the dangers we ignore are actually lurking.
So let's just start with this one number, 227,000. That is the number of people in the U.S. who died from unintentional injuries in just one recent year. To put that in perspective, that's like the entire city of Des Moines, Iowa, just gone. The price tag on that? Over $1 trillion. This isn't just a statistic. It's a massive, massive weight on our entire country.
Okay, so to really understand what's going on, we have to split these injuries into two main categories. You've got your unintentional injuries, accidents, things like falls, car crashes, stuff like that. And then you have intentional injuries. That's harm done on purpose. Now, here is the wild part. It's the unintentional stuff, the accidents, that are responsible for more years of potential life lost than any other cause of death. Think about that.
Which, of course, leads us to the biggest question of all, doesn't it? With all the scary headlines and everything we're told to worry about, what are the risks we should actually be focused on? Let's figure that out.
First up, let's put together what I'm calling the real-life risk list. We're going to check our assumptions at the door and look at the cold, hard data on our actual lifetime odds of dying from some pretty common and not so common dangerous.
All right, let's play a quick round of what's more likely. Over your entire lifetime, what do you think is more likely to be the cause of a fatal injury? Taking a fall or an accidental gun discharge? Go ahead, pick one. Got your answer?
Okay, check this out. This is where our brains really mess with us. Your lifetime odds of dying from a fall, 1 in 98. Your odds from an accidental gun discharge, 1 in almost 8,000. Yeah, you are over 80 times more likely to die from a simple fall. It's because one is dramatic and makes the news, and the other just happens. And just look at the top of that list, an opioid overdose. Your odds are 1 in 58. That is absolutely staggering, and it shows you where one of the biggest dangers really is.
So now, let's take this conversation home. Literally. We all think of our home as our castle, our safe space, right? But the data shows it's actually a major hotspot for these unintentional injuries. So let's peek behind the curtain and find some of those hidden dangers.
So what's the big three when it comes to injuries at home? Well, number one is poisoning. And that's not just opioids. We're talking about silent killers like carbon monoxide too. Number two is falls, which are the leading cause of injury death for folks over 65. And coming in at number three are fires, which we're going to get into right now.
Now, when you look at home fires, there's a really important distinction to make. The number one cause of fire-related injuries, it's cooking. You get distracted for a second and boom. But the number one cause of fire-related deaths, that's careless smoking. It's just a sobering reminder of how a tiny everyday habit can have the most devastating consequences.
We've all heard this since kindergarten, but it's so important it bears repeating. If your clothes ever catch fire, every instinct in your body is going to tell you to run. But that is the absolute worst thing you can do. It's like adding fuel to the fire. The move that will save your life is to stop, drop, and roll. It's simple, it works, and it needs to be pure muscle memory.
And hey, while we're talking about home safety, we have to talk about firearms. And there is one golden rule, one absolute that you can never, ever forget. Always, always treat a gun as if it is loaded. Period. That's not a guideline, that's the foundation of all firearm safety, right alongside making sure they're stored, unloaded, and locked away securely.
All right, let's head out the front door now. Because the second we start moving, whether we're driving a car, riding a bike, or just walking down the sidewalk, a whole new set of risks comes into play.
So get this, in 2022, more than 46,000 people were killed in car crashes in the US. But when you look at why these crashes happen, it's almost never some random, unavoidable accident. It's us. It's distracted driving, it's speeding, it's being tired, it's driving under the influence. These are all choices, which means the vast majority of these deaths could have been prevented. But here's a trend that should honestly scare all of us. Since 2009, deaths involving pedestrians have skyrocketed by 77%. Just let that sink in for a second. In that same time, all other traffic deaths went up 25%. Our roads are becoming incredibly dangerous places if you're not wrapped in a metal box.
So, what do we do about it?
Well, it pretty much comes down to three things: be seen, be aware, and be defensive. If you're driving, put the phone down and leave some space. If you're on a bike, make yourself as visible as possible, and please, wear a helmet. It can reduce your risk of a serious head injury by nearly 90%. And if you're walking, walk facing traffic so you can see what's coming. Okay, everything we've talked about so far has been accidents. Now we need to shift gears and tackle a much tougher topic: intentional harm. Now the point here is not to make you afraid, it's to make you aware, because understanding how and why violence happens is really the first step in keeping yourself safe.
One of the most common and most hidden forms of intentional harm is intimate partner violence, or IPV. And this isn't just physical. It can be sexual, it can be psychological. But it is crucial to understand that at its very core, IPV is almost always about one thing and one thing only: a need for control.
You know, violence is complicated. It doesn't just happen in a vacuum. There are social factors, like what we're exposed to in the media. There's the massive role of alcohol and drugs. I mean, on college campuses, they're involved in 95% of all violent crimes. That's insane. And then there's the one thing people get wrong most often: the interpersonal factor. In the vast majority of cases, the victim knows their attacker.
And of course, these days, danger isn't just physical, it's digital. So here are 3 super quick tips for staying safe online. First, use a neutral screen name that gives away 0 personal info. Second, just be really mindful of what you post. Don't give away too much. And third, go into your social media accounts right now and set everything to private. You need to be the one who decides who gets a window into your life.
Okay, we've spent a lot of time talking about risks and dangers. So let's finish up on a much more empowering note. This isn't just about protecting yourself, it's about being prepared to be the person who can help someone else. So how do you become an asset in an emergency?
This right here, this is a total game changer. We tend to think of paramedics and firefighters as the first responders, but they're not. The first responder is whoever's on the scene when something goes down. That first responder is you. You are the very first, and maybe the most critical, link in what's called the chain of survival. What you do or don't do in those first few minutes can literally be the difference between life and death.
So what does being ready actually look like? It means having a toolkit of skills. It means learning first aid. It means knowing how to do the Heimlich maneuver. It means getting trained in CPR and knowing how to use one of those AED defibrillators. These aren't just things to put on a resume, they're skills that empower you to be the help, not just another person standing by.
Because at the end of the day, safety isn't just a bunch of rules on a checklist. It's a mindset. It's about being aware, it's about being prepared, and it's about focusing on the things that are actually likely to hurt you. So I'll leave you with this question. After hearing all this, what's one small habit, one little thing you're going to change starting today?